Having a will is really important, but it may be even more important than many of us think. So have you ever wondered what happens if you don't have a will? Well, Nardine, you're going to have all the answers for me today. What age should we get a will?
So you can't make a will unless you're over the age of 18, so 18.
18?
Plus. Yep. Even if you don't think you've got any assets, it's still good to have a will.
And why is that? So if you're an 18-year-old and you're watching right now, why should an 18-year-old get a will?
Because I guarantee you'll forget to make a will, and you'll be 50 by the time you think, I should make a will. Even if you don't have any assets, hopefully during your life you're going to acquire assets, and then you want to make sure they go to the right person when you die.
So what should be included in a will then?
So what has to be included is who's going to be your executor. So that's the person or persons who are responsible for calling in the estate, for selling houses, for dividing the money up between the beneficiaries. So you have to have someone who you trust to be your executor, ideally someone who is your own age or younger. And then of course your beneficiaries, who do you want to leave your assets to? And then in your will you might also want to include, how to be buried, or I want to be cremated, or I had a guy want to be cremated and have his ashes scattered 200 kilometres up the Stuart Highway next to a white tree. So I thought he'd better tell his executor exactly where he means. So you can do that sort of stuff in a will.
So what will happen to a person's assets if they don't have a will?
Okay. So there is a piece of legislation that will set that out, and basically it will go to a spouse or to children, but perhaps not in the, it might not be the way you want it to go, and it might not be...
Might go to a person you don't want it to go to.
Yeah, and in the shares that you might want, that won't happen either. And it will then pass to, I think it's brothers and sisters next, and then parents, but it will exclude people that you might want to leave something to in your will, like a dear friend. It certainly won't cover people like that.
And the government also has fees and things like that?
Yeah, there are fees to administer it, which comes out of what is going to be ultimately divided.
So you lose, like the money that you actually have, you lose, like how much is it usually?
It depends on the size of the estate. It's not a huge amount, but nonetheless it's still something that you can prevent by having your will and saying exactly where you want your assets to go.
So instead of going to the government, it could actually go to family members instead.
Yeah.
Well, that should be big enough motivation, right?
True, that's true. Yeah.
So how difficult is it then to write a will?
So doing your own will, look, a will is a written piece of paper, so you could sit down and write your will. But it's only going to be a valid will if it's witnessed by two people who are there in the room with you when you sign it, so a lot of people don't know that. And when you're writing your own will, often you miss things, and if you miss things then it means that that part of the will is not valid. So you may as well do it properly and go and get some advice about it. And also in today's age of lots of blended families too, wills can be quite complex, and I think most people would struggle to write their own will in that sort of situation.
Because are they expensive wills?
No, so no, not expensive at all. We charge $250 for 2 wills, $150 for 1 will, and I think that's quite a reasonable amount if that means that everything's sorted the way you want it to be.
That's great. So is writing a will by yourself a good idea, do you think? Was that one of the post office ones that you get,
Oh, look, it's the same thing. All the post office ones do is prompt you to put the right information in, which I guess is better than just doing it from scratch.
Yep.
But it's still...
Writing a dear diary.
Yes, that's right. But it still doesn't give you the right advice, particularly in that scenario of stepchildren, blended families and so on.
So having expert advice is really important in this sort of thing, definitely.
Yeah.
So when should a will be updated? Because obviously, wills do expire.
Yeah. So if
they don't expire, but things change.
They can though. They can. So
they can,
not expire, but become invalid. So you should update it when you marry. You should update it when you divorce. You should update it if you separate and you think you've named your partner in the will. And it doesn't matter if you have assets that you buy a house, you don't need to update your will in that circumstance because it's just called the estate, which covers anything that you've got.
Any assets, okay.
Yeah. But certainly if you have children, those sort of life events, it's always good to update it. And I think once every 10 years anyway, just have a look, make sure your executor is still someone that's alive and well.
Yep, and that you like.
And that you like still, that's right. Make sure your beneficiaries are people you still like.
Yeah.
So yeah, every so often just have a quick look at it and see. And we offer that service free of charge. If you've got a will and you're not sure, just come and see us. We'll have a quick look at it and tell you whether we think it needs updating or not.
So there you have it. We're all busy, I get that, but the idea of what will happen to our assets after we're gone often takes a back seat. So it's never too early to start thinking about it. So when you're ready, give the team at Collier Lawyers a call and go and get that will done finally. So many families don't have one, and it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess a will too, that doesn't decide who gets your kids or anything like that, but you can put your wishes as to who gets your children in there as well. So go and get one done. If you haven't had it done, it's not very expensive, so stop putting it off and get it done today.